The American Revolution, 1775 to 1783, was a transformative period in world history that led to the birth of the United States of America. It was a war for independence fought between Great Britain and 13 of its North American colonies. The roots of the conflict lay in British colonial policies and the growing discontent among the colonies over taxation without representation, trade restrictions, and the infringement on their rights and liberties. Tensions began to rise in the early 1760s, following Britain's victory in the French and Indian War. To pay off war debts, Britain imposed a series of taxes on the colonies, including the Stamp Act, 1765, and the Townshend Acts, 1767. These measures were met with fierce opposition, as the colonies believed they had no say in the decisions of the British Parliament. The slogan, "No taxation without representation," became a rallying cry for colonial resistance. In 1773, the situation escalated with the passing of the Tea Act, which granted the British East India Company a monopoly on tea sales in the colonies. In protest, American patriots in Boston organized the Boston Tea Party, dumping an entire shipment of tea into the harbor. In response, Britain passed the Coercive Acts, also known as the Intolerable Acts, which further restricted colonial autonomy and heightened tensions. By April 1775, armed conflict broke out between colonial militias and British forces at the battles of Lexington and Concord. These skirmishes marked the beginning of the Revolutionary War. In June of that year, the Continental Congress appointed George Washington as the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the colonies demonstrated fierce resistance. They made use of guerrilla warfare tactics to challenge the British forces. In 1776, the Continental Congress took a decisive step by declaring independence from Britain. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence, drafted primarily by Thomas Jefferson, was adopted. This document outlined the colony's grievances against King George III and proclaimed the inherent rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was a bold assertion of the colony's desire for self-determination and freedom from British rule. The war that followed was brutal and hard-fought. The British military, one of the most powerful in the world at the time, launched several large-scale campaigns to regain control of the colonies. However, the Americans were aided by foreign allies, most notably France. France provided crucial military and financial support. The turning point in the war came with the American victory at the Battle of Saratoga in 1777, which convinced France to formally join the war on the side of the colonies. Over the next few years, the war dragged on with varying successes for both sides. The final major battle occurred in 1781 at Yorktown, Virginia, where General Washington's forces, along with French troops, successfully besieged the British Army led by General Cornwallis. This decisive victory effectively ended major combat operations in North America. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, officially recognizing the independence of the United States. Britain ceded vast territories to the new nation, and the war for independence came to a close. The revolution not only established the United States as an independent country, but also set a powerful precedent for future movements seeking self-governance and freedom from colonial rule. The American Revolution had far-reaching impacts, not only in shaping the political landscape of the new nation, but also in influencing democratic ideals around the world. The founding principles laid out during the Revolution, such as individual liberty, representative government, and the separation of powers, became central to the identity of the United States and inspired future generations to fight for justice and equality.